Hello friends, my name is Satchbag Drakes, and I'd like to talk about Chrono Cross and Multiverse Theory. Chrono Cross most famously falls under the most scrutiny for two commonly shared reasons. One, that it is an incompetent connection to its critically acclaimed partner in the series, Chrono Trigger, and two, that the narrative and world building of alternate timelines or alternate realities is confusing, convoluted, and outside the realm of plausible theory. My goal is to debunk one and a half of these points. I will attempt to unpack what the actual real-world multiverse theory entails, how it applies to the world around us in the world of Chrono Cross, and how the timelines between Chrono Trigger and Cross are more essentially married than one might perceive. This will debunk point 2 and lightly address point 1. Many players, who were mostly children at the time, expected Chrono Cross to be a chronological continuation of Trigger. I don't have an elegant response to that disappointment other than sorry. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna define multiverse theory, explore what it is in Chrono Cross, so in other words, the conditions of the alternate realities that we know about. Along the way, we'll further define how some of these ties relate to Trigger, and finally, we'll conclude our time together. Before we dive into this term multiverse, I'd like to define and debunk any misconceptions around what a universe is. There is only one universe, hence the prefix uni, which literally means having one only. A universe is everything seen and unseen, everything discovered and not discovered as of yet, and it's highly likely that it has some system of physical laws. So we're not talking about a parallel universe. This colloquially infers that there is more than one universe in existence. If there's only one universe, you're probably going to ask me what a multiverse is then. Consider the realm of infinite time and infinite space and all of the potential things that can be created within it. Creatures, trees, laws of physics. The world and matter around it that we currently know has all of these properties. Now, considering that the parameters we have to work with, time and space, are infinitesimal, imagine that new things are so frequently and consistently being created that it's only logical to believe that the stream of created things laps on itself. The idea that these permeations exist is that, in some theories, they all take place beyond the fold of our perceived universe. So, if our universe has an identifiable edge, beyond it is an infinite collection of permeations in which potentially different laws of physics, circumstantial outcomes, physical makeups, and much more would exist. Got it? Okay, let's talk about some of them. There are two major level trees of multiverse theory that I'll mention, Max Tegmark's 4 levels and Brian Greene's 9. We're going to briefly skim Tegmark's 4 and hone in on the one that the Chrono series utilizes. Level 1 is beyond our cosmological horizon. This unpacks that after the Big Bang, there was something referred to sometimes as an eternal inflation, where within the capacity of infinite time and space, infinite permeations of the universe are being made. Some refer to this as a Hubble sphere, which are named that way in part because of the quantifiable characteristics of size based around the speed of light and constants that are irrelevant to this exposition. So in other words, from where you stand to the edge of the cosmological or observed horizon, there is a world that we know. Beyond it, however, is our world again. But let's say in this world you're watching a different YouTube video right now, and beyond that there's another where we all have 4 legs, and so on. The physical laws remain, but there are infinite configurations of everything else being completely different and nearly the same. Level 2 is permeations of the universe with different physical constants. So level 2 takes away the constant physics-oriented variable in level 1, in that each permeation of the universe, the laws of physics can change. In this level, eternal inflation creates these bubbles in its expansion of the universe that contain a multiverse with potentially different laws of physics. Level 4 is the ultimate ensemble, and from what I understand, just contains all possibilities and deems them all real and plausible. But what we're focusing on is level 3, the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. This is probably the most commonly used level of Tegmark's tree in TV shows and movies, if it's used correctly. They often call it a parallel universe or alternate universe or something pop science-y. Level 3 essentially says that in every circumstance, anything that could happen will happen, and that within my observable universe, I will only move forward knowing one. So if there's a circumstance where you walk down the stairs, in one permeation, you descend the stairs safely. In another, you fall down, and in another, you get a heart attack halfway through, and so on infinitely. Every outcome takes place, and we carry out our lives through only one. This offers some grounding for not only how Chrono Cross works, but how Trigger leads into it and resolves. You might say, but Satchel, this level only impacts all multiple outcomes, which is certainly what Surge deals with, but what about the time travel as well? It is Chrono Cross after all. To which I'd say that in this level, everything is dimensionally infinite, meaning that all things have happened, are happening, and will continue to happen at all times. So there. Let's begin with the timeline of Chrono Trigger. I should let you know right away that we will be addressing, but not in great detail, the questionable theory around the world balancing of Chronopolis and Dynapolis, just so you know. Okay, so there's no time to waste. So Queen of Zeal attempted to harness the power of Lavos, and in her efforts, Lavos transported Balthazar to the future. Lavos exploits the time crash vulnerability and takes Chronopolis to 12,000 BC. Lavos created a link between two quantum permeations, one in which the world is in ruin in 2300 AD should Lavos have lived, and one in which Balthazar was sent after he was destroyed by Chrono, where he would discover Chronopolis, an area reserved for time research. While essentially in a cyberpunk future in Chronopolis, Balthazar uses the Frozen Flame, which was a piece of Lavos that was broken off after he was destroyed by Chrono, alongside a computer assistant named Robo, or the Prometheus Circuit, in order to conduct tests with time. He later rebuilds the system with the architecture of a greater computer called F.A.T.E. Okay, I want you guys to remember F.A.T.E. It's very important. F.A.T.E. is a kind of Watson in that it has an intelligent mind of its own, and it's capable of an agenda, being vindictive, and being hungry for power. It's important to know that F.A.T.E. had access to the Frozen Flame in order to use its power, but at any point the Prometheus Circuit could deny F.A.T.E. access to that flame if anyone came in contact with the flame. A person who came in contact with the Frozen Flame was regarded as the arbiter of the flame, and upon contact, F.A.T.E. would lose access to that flame's power. Now, in Balthazar's time test, he saw that Shala, lost in the darkness beyond time, would bind with Lavos to create the Time or Dream Devourer, the Time Devourer if you played Cross, the Dream Devourer if you played Trigger, and that if left alive, they would wipe out the four-dimensional continuum we know as space-time. And here's what's incredibly important and what undoubtedly glues Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross together. Balthazar sees the fate of the world and heroically orchestrates a series of events with his knowledge and technical advantage to save Shala and the multiverse. This is both the conclusion of Chrono Trigger and the crux and meaning of Chrono Cross. The first thing Balthazar does is use the Frozen Flame to acquire a quantum replica of Shala, which she created before she was banished, and sent her into the care of Luca, which she finds at the end of Trigger. We later find out that this baby is Kid. We find ourselves in the beginning of Chrono Cross, 1003 AD, where Surge is but a 3-year-old. Under the care of his father Wazuki and his colleague Miguel, he's attacked by a Black Panther and fatally wounded. Now his father and Miguel set out to find an island that can help. Shala hears his cry from across the universe somehow, playing into a chosen one archetype for the sake of the story, and conjures a gust of wind to bring them to Chronopolis. There, Surge comes into contact with the Frozen Flame. Remember, Balthazar was using it to conduct time tests in Chronopolis at a different time. He comes into contact with it, it heals him, but it also makes him the arbiter since he touched it and locks F.A.T.E. out of using it. Now, F.A.T.E. is pretty mad about that. Wazuki's exposure to the flame allows F.A.T.E. to control him, and F.A.T.E. uses him to drown Surge so that the arbiter seal is broken and F.A.T.E. can access the Frozen Flame again. Wazuki remains under the control of F.A.T.E. and becomes the antagonist we know as Lynx. Now you might ask, how did a fully human man become Lynx, this half-cat demi-human? Well, we know demi-humans exist. There's an island just for them in the Chrono Cross universe, and as the lore goes, rather than being the human father that took care of his son, instead becomes the one that endangers and kills his son, and becomes the very thing that threatened his son's life, which, as we know, is the Black Panther. In 1015 AD, Fate finds out about Luca and Kid. Believing Luca has the knowledge and ability to remove the Prometheus circuit due to her knowledge of Robo, it sends Lynx to Luca's orphanage and kills everyone. That explains this cutscene. Kid survives and swears revenge. Interesting, the orphanage is essentially burned down, and Kid gains the ability to wield fire. At this point, Kid makes contact with Balthazar, who traveled back in time knowing that this would happen, and properly orchestrates the revenge with Surge. Balthazar's goal was to empower Surge, because when you think about it, he's really the only hope available. He's the only one in the universe to become an arbiter of the frozen flame and lock Fate out. He wanted to empower him with the ability to transcend dimensions so that he could reach the darkness beyond time and free Shala from the clutches of the Time Devourer, consequently saving everything. Balthazar sends Kid back in time to save Surge from death, and he creates a link between two quantum permeations of the universe. Now, these are the two permeations that we're most familiar with. The first permeation is Homeworld. So in Homeworld, Chrono doesn't defeat Lavos, Chronopolis doesn't exist, the Sea of Eden doesn't exist either. Fate has no power to manipulate because, by the way, Fate doesn't exist because she's not needed by Balthazar because Balthazar's not there, resulting in El Nido losing its enchanted protection and leaving it under the power of other territories, which we see in Chrono Cross, and of course Surge staying alive. The second permeation is Another World. In Another World, Chronopolis and Dinopolis are drawn into the same permeation of the universe, which is referred to as the Keystone Dimension, from their respective places in time, of which Fate attacks, abducts, and seals, allowing Fate to seal the Dragon God's powers, become a god himself, create and sustain the Sea of Eden, etc., etc. Now, Surge, discovering the portal between these two worlds, is not transmitting himself and his party members to different universes, but rather to quantum permeations beyond the limits of his current human cognition. Fun fact, in a weird twist of fate, Fate protected humanity from the power of the dragon gods, who by the way were not allies, by using the frozen flame to dissipate the one dragon god's power into 6 scattered, sealed, weaker dragons to fit into the universe. This is where we get the whole element system. Further, in the Another World timeline where Surge is dead, the dragon gods sensed when Surge became the arbiter and Fate lost control of the flame, and they created an additional dragon named Harl in order to get it back. It's because of Surge's ability to access the frozen flame that Fate uses Lynx to swap bodies with Surge at the Dragon's tier so that he can regain access to the frozen flame inside the body of the Arbiter. That's Surge. Using the tiers of hate and love, the first tier we come across in the game, and the tier created once Surge regains his body back from Lynx, Surge creates the Chrono Cross, which can flatten multiple dimensions to enter the darkness beyond time to defeat the Time Devourer, thus saving Shala and saving everything. And of course, the game ends with Shala being fused back with Kid. There it is, friends. Chrono Cross. Explained with real multiverse theory, directly tied to the events, characters, and circumstances of Chrono Trigger. Copacetic.